Welcome to episode 31 of the Impact Marketing Podcast. I'm Shane Melaugh and I'm here with Paul McCarthy.
Hello, thank you for having me.
And our returning guest. And we have another returning guest, which is Rob Cornish, who's been on the podcast before, and he talked about his elevator traffic strategy last time. And I'm going to link to the last episode he was on as well below this. But yeah, he's back to teach us some more and talk some more. So hello, Rob, and thanks for coming back.
Hello, Shane and Paul. It's a pleasure to be invited back, and it's always good to talk to you guys.
Good stuff. So let's, we were talking a bit before this, and so from what we heard, you've kind of taken a bit of a break. You haven't really been working much lately from what I gather. And so what's the situation? Are you like completely broke now, or did you manage to still make money while you were not working?
Well, as we're talking to you, it's coming towards the end of the summer. I'm here in England, and it's a grey sky. It's raining, so it's summer in England because basically it's summer in England because the rain's warmer, right? And over the summer, in all seriousness, I really just had so much stuff going on personally, and just been enjoying the summer. So really on my business, I've been working probably about an hour a day, something like that. And that's probably 4 or 5 days a week. Mm-hmm. So really not hard work by anyone's sort of measure, I would think. So the last big sort of project I did was back in March. And that was a live event that I put on. So we can touch on that. We could talk about that if you're interested in talking about that later. But since then, after that, I went with my girlfriend to America, and we went pretty much across America, east to west. Fantastic trip for 5 weeks. And then when we got back to London, we decided to move down to Cornwall, which is in the southwest of England. So there's been a lot going down there, and then we rented a place in Cornwall initially, and we've bought a house. So there's a lot of we're going to move again to the new house and get that prepared. And there's lots of stuff going on, and I've just been enjoying the summer as well. So I've been learning to surf down here because it's good surfing here on the west coast. So stuff like that, and it's just been really nice because prior to that, really I spent sort of 3 years or so working pretty hard with internet marketing in my own business. So this is the first sort of opportunity where I've had kind of, 6 months where it's really been on the back burner and not doing that much sort of active new projects.
Yeah, it sounds like you're like actually doing the 4-hour work week thing, which is something that I think, for how many people read that book, not many people have actually accomplished that. But let's look at, because I think you and Paul met when you were just starting out with your own business, and let's have a look at how did you get from there, like from just starting to the point where you can take 6 months almost off, and your business is still running.
Yeah, well, I think, Paul, if I remember rightly, we met in London at an event, a live event, and we just both happened to go, and we got talking and so on, and we stayed in touch since. And I think that was March 2011. And at that point, I just sort of quit my job, or a few months before I just quit my job, and actually gone full time, as it were, doing online business. And I was in the stock market niche, so I was working on an information product about stock trading, which I knew something about because my previous sort of working career had been in financial services and in investments. So that seemed like a good niche to go into. So really, without going through everything, I did that product. Then I started a blog, which is still there. It's gainhigherground.com. That's my main site. and then decided to launch a membership site. Then I did some smaller products, some WSOs as well to launch on the Warrior Forum, which were good for lead generation, and did some other mid sort of price products as well, some software products. So SpyBar being the most successful, but some others as well, viral payments, for example. So all sorts of different products. And I guess looking back over that sort of 3 years or so, one of the things I've enjoyed the most and had the biggest success with is creating products. And I think to be able to come back to your question, taking 6 months off, pretty much taking off. As I say, I have been working a little bit and maintaining things every day, but really not working on anything new. The key to that has been sort of building that list of subscribers, which has come primarily from creating products. So it's primarily a customer list. And also sort of passive income streams as well that I've developed along the way. And obviously that's kept the money rolling in, even though my work rate has dropped off massively.
Right, yeah. So the passive income thing, this is sometimes hotly debated because of like how passive is the passive income really, right?
Yeah.
So can you tell us a bit about that? When you say passive income, what does that actually look like?
Yeah, well, that's the first thing, is because there's some really important but highly misused cliches in internet marketing, one of which is probably multiple streams of passive income. Mm-hmm. Because that's really...
I've never heard that one before.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah. So, I mean, it's, it's like the Holy Grail, if you like. But like you say, that things aren't really passive in terms of, you just turn it on and it just goes forever. I mean, you have to put some work in first. And that's the 3 years, I want that, that's an important point. And I did work pretty hard for 3 years to sort of build up a list and develop these income streams. But in terms of the income streams, I mean, primarily the first one to mention would be my membership site. So I have a membership site where people subscribe and they rebuild on a monthly basis and that's for ongoing training and support. So they can answer any question they want if they've got a problem, and so on. So that's been running for a few years now, and obviously building up the membership on that is a great thing. So that's a passive income site. So if anyone's looking to do this, then there's lots of different types of membership site. You can have something like I've got, which is an actual site with lots of videos in it and content and all this sort of stuff, or you can keep it. Some of the most effective ones are actually just a newsletter that goes out. So you can literally just build, write PDFs, for example, have one every 2 weeks or one every month, and send them out on an autoresponder. Have a PayPal buy button on a sales page. People click buy and they're subscribed, and that they will receive automatically their PDFs. And the great thing with that, of course, it's almost stating the obvious, but it's always worth reiterating, is that you're only having to make the sale once. So the rebuilds happen automatically for as long as people choose to remain a member. And that's, for anyone who's had a membership site will understand how powerful that is. It sounds logical, but until you've actually been there, I don't think you can fully appreciate just how great it is. So that's the first thing. And then really the second part of the passive income for me has been affiliate products. So I don't do a massive amount of affiliate marketing, to be honest, mainly because I've always been a fan of creating my own products, as I mentioned, a moment ago. But I do like to promote stuff that I use. So traditionally, a great example of passive income from affiliate marketing would be something like Aweber. So I regularly get checks from Aweber. I wish they were actually bank transfers, but for some reason they insist on sending me checks, which costs me money to cash here in the UK because they're all in US dollars. But still, it's good passive income. and that's great because any time you can make a genuine recommendation and promote an affiliate product which is recurring, that's a great thing. And it's even better if that recurring product has a high, how do we say, sort of pain
of disconnect.
Pain of disconnect, exactly. And many information products do have a pain of disconnect, but the best ones tend to be software products or services, or SaaS, for example, software as a services.
Yeah, you have a huge list on Aweber, you're much less likely to switch to a different autoresponder because it's a lot of work is involved in that. Whereas if it's an info product, it's like, okay, I just stop getting the information, but it's not right. It's not that painful, basically. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So, Aweber's great, and there are many other services sort of out there. Recently, Lead Pages, for example, has been very good, which I think is kind of. There are many other services like that, but you get the idea. I mean, those kind of ongoing services are great. So I have done, for example, affiliate webinars, hosted those, and that's great. And you can make a lot more money in one go, but of course, usually it just dries up. So to do some kind of any kind of high degree of pain of disconnect on a recurring basis is just gold. So that's the second category. And then the third category actually is just having low-priced products out there in the market. So, I've done quite a few low-priced products, but it's anywhere between sort of $7 and kind of $20 or $17, something like that. So the idea of these products, honestly, is you're giving away usually a large amount of commission to an affiliate. So you encourage affiliates to promote, and you're getting customers, actual buyers onto your list. And then, of course, you can market to them, build a relationship with them, and hopefully they like what they see and they go on to buy more stuff. And anyone who's done, for example, a WSO will know there's a big spike in sales, providing it's successful, of course. Big spike in sales when you first launch it, and then it drops off. But you still, if it's a good product, I've always found that you still get a residual passive sales stream going forward. So, for example, you mentioned we were talking about SpyBar, for example, which is one of my software products. It's just a very simple product. It's just a browser extension, and that sells for $12.95. I've never changed the price. And I give 75% commission. So you can imagine when an affiliate makes a sale, I hardly make any money really. But of course, people. Generally, they absolutely love the product. They come on, they're on my list, and so on. And then they go on, and I make sales further down the line, more on the back end of the business. So having those sort of products out there, and just hardly a day goes by when I don't sell at least one copy of SpyBar, and without doing anything whatsoever, because I have it for sale in various places around the net. So that's a third thing that you can do to actually not only generate passive income, but also actually get new leads as well.
Yeah. So another thing that interests me, you said that your membership, that's something you started quite early on then. What was your traffic situation looking like when you started this membership? Did you do like a big launch for that, or did you just open it up and see what happens?
Yeah, basically. So around the time Paul and I met was, March 2011. So just to give you a brief timeline there, I was working, 90% of my time was spent in the stock trading niche, but I also started a gainhighground.com and just did a few blog posts about what I was doing. And I didn't monetize that. I think I started that kind of in January, or you can go back and have a look, but or Christmas 2010, I think it was. And I was just didn't monetize it. I didn't promote anything, or no money from it. It was just a side project. But what I did do when I had time was just do some guest blogging. So I did a few guest blogs, and gradually that built up a list just of a few hundred people. But as you probably know, with guest blogging and strategies like that, you don't often get a lot of traffic, but the traffic you do get tends to be pretty high quality, especially if it signs up for your list. Then there's, they've read your article, they've clicked through, they've entered their email address, they're pretty well qualified. So even though I had a small list of just a few hundred people in the internet marketing niche, it was fairly high quality. So what I thought after, and I was getting blog comments and people sending emails and so on, I just saw the opportunity of kind of launching something on a recurring basis, because the stuff that I'd done in the stock trading niche in 2011 was great, but it was just a one-time pay product, which was really exciting because it was my first major product. So, once I launched that, it was fantastic, and actually ended up doing a couple of $100,000, I think, in gross sales. That's not profit, gross sales, which was brilliant. Had to split that with JV partners and everything, and there's refunds and taxes and everything, but it was still good. It was very exciting for me. But then, of course, it just dropped off and went back to zero. So I'm really thinking, how can I keep the money coming in? So it just seemed like a good thing to do. People were asking questions, and they seemed to want ongoing support and so on. So I thought, well, why not do a low-priced membership site where I can add some good content, stuff that works, build it up that way, and then launch it. And that's what I did. So towards the end of 2011, I did probably what you'd call a sort of very soft internal launch. So I provided, it was $27 a month at that point, and I just opened it up, prepared people for it on email, and no fancy tricks or anything like that, but people joined. Quite a few people joined, and the thing with that is it's good point more generally, I think, is that you hear about all these sort of fancy tactics and the best conversion rates and the pages and the right headline and stuff, but if you've got a really good relationship with your list, you can almost write a very, very short email, send them directly to a PayPal link, and people will buy, because the trust is there. So the conversion stuff, of course it matters, but it matters most of all on the very front end when people don't know you so well, on a squeeze page or on that first leader product, low price leader products, lead generation product that you put out. But once people become familiar with you, then you can get away with it, not get away with a lot more, but there's not so much need for all that because people have the trust. And sort of unwittingly, if you like, that's what I'd been doing in 2011, because I started my blog in, as I say, I think in December 2010, and didn't sell anything. I didn't make any recommendations. All I did was provide value for the next sort of 6-9 months or something until I launched my membership site.
Yeah. Yeah, that seems pretty interesting to me, because I totally agree with what you say. Like, yeah, conversions and conversion optimization and all that is super important, can make a big difference, but especially in the beginning, it can often be far more valuable to have a very simple little whatever landing page, sales page, and then send people to that, especially if you have warm traffic, and make some sales off of that, instead of delaying it for another 2 months or whatever, trying to tweak and perfect everything. And I think that is something that, a mistake easily made. And certainly for people like me, I have a pretty big perfectionism problem. And I'm a typical candidate for that, where I'll just be tweaking and tweaking and tweaking at something, trying to get it perfect before even releasing it. And it makes a lot more sense to just release something very simple and then start trying to improve it and optimize it once something is actually happening. So I guess the buzzword for that one is speed of implementation, right? Like get it out first and then start optimizing. So I think that's a good example of that. And I also think it's interesting. I mean, it seems like you have this membership, and it's kind of just on a slow roll a bit. Like people find your site, and some of them become members, and it kind of just builds up over the years without you having to bang the drums too much for it.
Yeah, that's right. You've made some really good points there, Shane, actually, because in the first instance, there is, in the software area, the people and apps and so on, you hear people talking about minimum viable products, it's a bit of buzzword and stuff, but really it's just getting the product out there. But the great thing, I think if it's a one-time pay product and you're sort of envisaging a big launch and stuff, then you're very nervous. And it's very easy, particularly if you're just brand new into internet marketing, you've never done anything before, to continue tweaking. And actually, many people never get the thing launched. People say, oh, there's action takers and there's non-action takers, but I think there's a third category, which is people who take action, but then at the very last hurdle, just never quite sort of push the button, and they just dither. Right? I actually, I wrote a blog post on this. It's a short blog post called "Pull the Trigger," because I've seen this actually, and some of my members in the site have done it. There was a guy who was an ex-school teacher, really nice guy, and he was an expert in woodwork, which is a very big niche online. And he produced a brilliant site. It was a membership site, but I think he was going to do one-time pay to start with. He'd got all the content there, him literally with videos like, here's how to saw or make a cabinet or whatever it was. It was really good stuff. And he was showing me all this because he was one of the members, and I was support. He had all the support and stuff. And it was really just ready to go. And it just sort of withered away, and I think I actually, because I was so keen for him to do it, I thought, just get the thing out there, and then you can improve it. And it just, I don't know what happened. He kind of just stopped, and then said, oh, I think I'm just going to, I need to put a second tier of membership in before I launch it. And I thought, no, you don't. You just get it out. It's fine as it is. And then I think a few months later, then he sort of left the site and so on, and it just didn't happen. And it's such a shame. So he was a massive action taker, but he didn't pull the trigger. But the great thing about the membership site is that it's very conducive to building it up slowly. So you can literally, if you think about the autoresponder example, you could write one PDF, which is the first month's content, put it for sale, test it, see how many people take it. If no one buys it, then you don't have to write month two or month three. And then you can tweak it going forward. And I think with a membership site, because you're thinking recurring income, then it's more spread out. You're not placing all your eggs in one basket. So actually, from that sort of psychologically, it can be a little bit easier. But definitely, start small and just sort of do what you can and test.
It's basically the situation that Paul was in when I met him.
Yeah, that was strikingly close to home, what you were describing there. I mean, I literally, at one point, I'd literally done the same thing, created a fully fledged membership site, and then I was like, nah, you know what, I'm going to do something else. And I did end up doing something else, but I certainly realised that I was one of these people that just didn't want to pull the trigger.
Yeah,
it is difficult, and the other thing that happens is that even if you do pull the trigger, and you launch it, then suddenly you start realising all these sort of little problems and things you don't like about the business model that you've chosen to adopt. Now that's the same with, I've done live events, webinars, membership sites, software, blogging. Like there's quite a few things that I've tried, And I had varying degrees of success with all of them. And there are all things with those that I think, oh, I don't really like this. And your mindset's constantly on the hunt for the holy grail where you don't have any of these hassles. But the reality is it doesn't exist, I don't think. I'm sure with the software stuff that you're doing now, there's loads of little things that are quite annoying that it'd be very tempting to think, oh, I just need to scrap this business model, right? Not software, let's do something else, right? But you're just swapping, it's just, different kinds of problems. That's all you're doing. And I think looking back, that's one of possibly, it's been really nice on the one hand that I've experienced all these different things. So like I say, the membership sites, live events, whatever. But and I've done very well, great full-time income I've made, and it's been brilliant. It's still going great, and I've got loads of future plans, and it's fantastic. I love the business. But I think the people who do really, really well, like 7-figure, really kill it, just focus on that one channel and just do it to death. And that's a very, very hard, that's the next level, right? That's a really hard thing to do, I think, because you have to take on all those problems with that business model. And once the excitement goes, the novelty wears off, you don't think, you know what, I think I'll try something else now because I'm more interested in this. You just keep grinding away. And there's not that many people around, I think, in any business that are really willing to do that.
Yeah, I mean, I actually, this might be a bit extreme, but the way I see it if you're doing anything entrepreneurial, it's going to be hard. There's just no way around that. Yeah. It's going to be hard. And the way I see it is you just get to choose which kind of hard you want to have in your life, because I think especially, for people like us, I mean, I come from Switzerland, you guys come from the UK. These are places in the world, and certainly not like that everywhere in the world, but these kinds of places in the world, you can underachieve your way to a pretty comfortable life, right, in the UK or in Switzerland. Like the living standards are really good, and you can underachieve yourself into some whatever job, right, that you don't care about, but you just do the work. Yeah. You get paid decently and whatnot. Like, you get enough money to kind of drown out the noise in your life with some entertainment during the weekends. And you can do that, and it's going to be like, that's going to be like an easy ride. You're just like floating along, right, not doing much. And the pain you experience then is that at some point you go, oh my God, I'm wasting my life, right? And you're unhappy, and you have a midlife crisis, and you have to go and buy a Porsche or something. Or you can say, okay, I'm going to do this entrepreneurial thing. And I mean, it doesn't have to be entrepreneurial, right? You decide to be ambitious. You decide to do something that is hard to do, right? You decide to do something more, and that's going to be hard to do. And so then you experience the pain of having to overcome these challenges. But you can't escape the pain. Like, something is going to be difficult in your life, right? You can't escape that. So the way I see it with, like you say, right, whatever business model you choose, some of it's going to be really hard. And I think anyone who works on a business will face huge challenges. From time to time, you will be in despair, and you will hate that you're having to do this bloody thing, and you have to get through it, right? But that's just, it's that, to me, the way I see it, it's either that or living this comfortable life where I become increasingly unsatisfied because I'm not doing anything with my life, right? So it's like, choose your pain.
Exactly, yeah. I mean, this takes me back actually to when I said earlier that I left my job. That's not strictly true. In 2010, I was made redundant. Oh. And I got offered another job, which is actually a pay rise. It was a great opportunity. But I decided, I turned it down, and that's when I started doing this. I went full time. So just a clarification there. But the real point is that the reason why I did that was because I was at that crossroads that you've just described, Shane. Yeah. So, do I want to carry on doing the safe route, which would have been exactly the same as what I'd done for the last 10 years before that, or do I want to try something else? And I thought, the way I always think about these sort of decisions, rightly or wrongly, is think, let's roll the clock forward to when I'm in the rocking chair, hopefully if I live that long, you know, in the old people's home or whatever, looking back on my life and thinking, what would my regrets be? You know, will I regret this business, this decision? And I came to the conclusion, no, I'll regret it if I don't do it. Yeah. Even if I fail miserably, then I will still be so glad I did it. And that's the thing, because if you don't, then it all gets bottled up. And I think that's why people have midlife crises and things like that, because you know, it's like, what am I doing with my life? You know, so you've got to be quite active and choose a little bit of hard route sometimes. It's not that hard, I don't think. It's just that there's lots of things that are there which will, there are so many stumbling blocks, and if they catch you at a weak point when you're just not up for it, or you're feeling a bit tired or whatever, it's just so easy to make that decision to quit.
Yeah.
They keep coming at you. So if you could just roll with the punches and just keep going, that's the difference, you know, between people who just never get started and the people who go the full distance. It's really not to do with ability. It's just being able to roll with the punches.
It's an interesting choice. You have to make, but yeah, I think it's a good point. It might also have to do with the whole trigger pulling thing. You know, I think there might be two sides to that, because on the one hand, like you say, right, at the moment where you decide, well, should I do this or should I stick with this? And you ask yourself, what would I regret more, right? Will I regret taking this chance even if I fail, or will I regret never having tried? I think on the other hand, this might be the problem of people who don't want to pull the trigger, where as long as you don't pull the trigger, you can hold on to the fantasy. You can hold on to the fantasy of, you know, maybe if I launch this business, it's going to be a huge success and I'm going to be rich and famous and life's going to be wonderful. And the moment you pull the trigger, you confront that fantasy with reality, right? So it's like, you know, it's like you're seeing a pretty girl from across the room. As long as you don't go up and talk to her, you can imagine that maybe she'd really like you and you'd have a wonderful time together. But it's the moment you go up there and talk to her and she goes, ew, get away from me or something, that busts the bubble, right? That destroys the fantasy. So I think that might be one of the reasons why people don't want to pull that trigger.
Yeah, I completely agree. I'm no expert in it, but it's really interesting, actually. There's been many books written about it, I'm sure, but there's all these things, you know, fear of rejection and fear of success. People talk about that, and fear of failure, self-sabotage for those reasons, and that they're all real. And I'm pretty sure that I've suffered all of them. I really am.
To some degree, yeah.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure that I will continue to suffer all of them going forward. But like with anything, there's you know, some people have a really bad case of a problem, you know, like 10 out of 10 bad, and other people have 2 out of 10 and they can just live with the condition and get through it. But the more you're aware of it, I think an awareness is a great thing. So, you know, I'm historically been a massive fan of kind of self-help books and all that personal development stuff, but I think as I get older, and my experience in this business in particular has made me think that actually it's probably actually really important, even though I haven't really read that many books about personal development, but it's probably possibly the most important thing for a lot of people, because without that it's a necessary condition to be able to do that. And if they haven't got that necessary element, then it doesn't matter how good everything else is, their products, their you know, their work ethic or whatever, they'll always fail because that mindset piece is just not there.
And I think that's something that's maybe also often overlooked when you talk about, I think especially in this like internet marketing space, everybody's talking about, like, you know, strategies and how do you get traffic, how do you do this and conversions and so on. But there is, I think, an interesting aspect there of, like, just the psychology of the entrepreneur, right? Like the psychological makeup of the entrepreneur, and having to do these things that are just difficult, just on a personal level. Like there's no, you maybe can't even rationalize it. Like someone sitting on a product and then not putting it out there. Like you can't rationalize that. There's something going on there on the level of psychology that needs to be addressed. Although I also think that probably one of the best therapies for that is to gradually confront yourself with it. So actually getting yourself to, in a small way, release that product or whatever, I think is the best therapy for this fear, because this is something I had as well. I mean, I remember when I set out to sell my first product. I mean, first of all, I don't think I would have ever done this if I didn't first release some free courses. And because the free courses were like a tentative, it's like dipping your toe in the water, right? Where it's like, okay, if I put something out there, first of all, will people take it even if it's free? Like, it's just like, hey, take this, right? And first of all, will people take this? They take it. Okay, good. What do they say about it? And then I get a positive reaction. So I think if I hadn't done that, I wouldn't have dared sell something.
Yeah, it's quite a good point, that, because the point you were saying about the girl as well. If you put it into that context, it's almost like there's this thing in pickup artistry called approach anxiety. It's where the boy just doesn't want to go up and speak to the girl. They get too anxious about it. And one of the methods that's spoken about in that area is just start really, really small, where you're going to guarantee a positive response. So an idea is to approach 10 strangers on the street and ask them what time it is. And then just, the stranger's going to give you the time, and then you move on to the next person. You get that, you start to build out that positive reinforcement. And I think it's the same kind of concept, right?
Actually, I think in the 4-hour work week, isn't that, as I remember, it's been a few years since I read that, but at the end of each chapter, there's some kind of task like that he asks you to do.
Oh, really?
I've forgot the term that they use, but it's basically to expand your comfort zone, basically, or something like that. But yeah, I mean, it's good. You can expand your comfort zone just by getting on and doing it, I suppose. The most important thing that I said to myself when I started out in doing this was that I'm going to do it whatever it takes. And I got that from there's an Australian marketer called Caro McCarthy, who I don't know much about, but I ended up listening to one of her videos, and she said that she'd said that to herself when she started. Brilliant thing to do. I really recommend it, because what that does is remove the choice. So instead of sitting there thinking, oh, I don't know, actually, maybe I'm making the wrong decision, and you're rationalising a way that you can quit effectively, which is, you just haven't got that choice, because you've said, oh no, because I said to myself that I'm going to do this whatever it takes, so I'll just do it and see what happens. And I think if you can do that, having a combination of that, and also try and add a layer of abstraction. So remove yourself from the situation. Imagine if you've got dealing with a situation, imagine you're someone else looking in. What would your advice be?
That's a good one.
Yeah, often your advice to that person, like so say Shane, you're working on something, and you might be thinking, oh, I've got X, Y, Z, and then Paul comes along and says, well, no, you should just do Y. It's obvious, okay? And because Paul hasn't got to face the internal problems of doing Y, because he's just giving the advice, which is, anyone can do that. It's easy. But you can do that yourself. And I found that a good way to actually overcome some of these issues. But I guess it's all personal, isn't it? Everyone's going to be different.
But I think this is a really good one, because I think we're kind of better at giving advice. We're better at preaching than practicing, right? And I mean, we can take this back to the girl analogy, where, if you're sitting there and you're terrified of, like, oh my God, she's so hot, but I don't know what to do. Your mate is just like, well, just go up and talk to her. Like, well, it's a kind of stupid question. What you should do, right? It's obvious, and it's true, right? We can give that advice very easily. Well, just go up and talk to her. It's no problem, right? And I think it's true if you think about that, and this is something I do as well sometimes. So it's interesting you bring this up, where I'm facing some kind of a problem, I have trouble with it, and I imagine, what if a friend of mine came to me with this exact problem? What would I recommend? And then often it turns out there's a fairly obvious solution to that. So that's pretty interesting. So we're running out of time. We went down a completely different path than I expected, but this has been really interesting. I want to add one more thing here, in terms of like these mind hacks that we're talking about. One thing that's kind of similar to the thing you say where, I say, I'm going to get this done no matter what. One of the things that I sometimes use, or something that's just a very strong belief I have, is that there is a path to the result I want. So this obviously goes together with like a well-researched plan, right? If I... it assumes that I've done some research and I know that the plan I have, let's say the business I want to build, is within realistic bounds, right? So if my plan is I want to conquer the universe, then that's not going to work. But if I have like a business plan, I've done some research, I know kind of, the size of the market and stuff like that, and I have this vision for creating a market-leading company in this sector, and I know that there is a path between where I am now and having created that market-leading company. I know that theoretically, if you could try again and again, I mean, imagine like you could replay your life again and again and again. You could tweak little steps and try and optimize and do everything as perfectly as possible. You could find some way, you could find some combination of actions that take you from where you are now to building that company, right? And to me, it's like knowing that this must be possible in the universe, right? This must be possible in the world. The right set of steps, the right set of decisions, the right set of actions will create this outcome. Is like it's something that I have as a very strong belief, so that even when things go horribly wrong, I can, I remind myself of like, this is possible. I'm not trying to do something that's impossible. I'm not even trying to do something that no one's ever done before. All I have to do is I have to make the right choices and I will get the result.
I agree completely, Shane.
Yeah. I think somebody mentioned something like this to me a while back, and they said, just put in place procedures and processes and do the action that makes the end goal inevitable. Mm-hmm. Just go above and beyond in every domain possible to make the end goal an absolute inevitable and certainty. And for some reason, I think I paraphrased that badly, to be honest, but it was something like that. And that hit me quite hard, where I'm not actually focusing on the result. I'm focusing on making my action, just amplifying my action, and the result will come.
Yeah. It's like focusing on the immediate step. Yeah, because the mountain of tasks that's ahead of you is really intimidating. I think that's another thing. Anyone who's done something entrepreneurial has been in the situation where you're like, oh my God, there's so much work ahead of me. It's insane. But you don't think of it in terms of I have to climb this huge mountain of work. I just have to take this next step. And I think that goes in that direction, right? Where you focus it down on how do I make this step in such a way that it takes me in exactly the right direction.
Yeah, and rather than focusing on a result in terms of, I don't know, in your membership site. Let's take your membership site for an example, Rob. When you launch that, rather than focusing on, okay, by 3 months' time, I want to have 1,000 members in this website. Focus on the actual action steps that will inevitably lead to that that goal. Mm-hmm. And make sure you achieve the action steps rather than focusing on the result.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's bang on. I mean, it's going to be different for everyone, but I think it's worth just trying to be aware of where we're all being sabotaged. That's one way to look at it. I think everyone, and for us three on the call here, I guess we're being sabotaged in different ways depending on the idiosyncrasies of how our brains work, which are all slightly different, and our past experiences, and everyone, and people listening will vary as well. So you need to do a bit of a discovery sort of mission to figure out where those things are, and try and just, I think number one is just be aware of where things are going wrong, and you've got to have the will to solve them as well, because you know, the easiest option is not to solve them, because they're there to, I think a lot of it is that they're there to protect you, right? Because we don't want to experience failure. And as you said earlier, Shane, a great way to not experience failure is don't take any risks.
Yeah.
And whether it's writing an ebook or one blog post or commenting on somebody's blog, you can go as small as you want to go. There's always the chance of rejection. What happens if you make a comment on Facebook or on somebody's blog and then somebody comes back and says, oh, you're an idiot, what'd you do that? And it starts long. You know, I'll bet some people don't comment on blogs because of that reason. That you know, so there's a whole degree of these sort of things. And I think it's well worth spending some time just thinking about that and keeping an eye out for, because they happen all the time. But for most people, I would guess most people are just completely unaware of it. But in a regular job, 9-to-5 job, it doesn't really matter, because you just do what you're told, get on with it and turn the handle, and you know, the paychecks come out at the end of every month. But when you're doing something like we're doing, then you're driving it yourself. You know, if you want to take your foot off the gas, as I've done this year, that's fine. You know, fortunately, I'm in a position that I've done 3 years' work beforehand to still have a passive income. But nevertheless, it's my decision, and I'll make less money for it. You know, equally, if you decide to go for a big project and, you know, really put in loads of work, then if it goes right, you get to keep all the profits, or a large part of the rewards that are generated. But there's still a risk before you do it. You just don't know what's going to happen. So yeah, I guess it's just a personal thing. Everyone's got to figure it out for themselves.
Yeah. Okay, well, I know that you have limited time, so I don't want to keep you any longer, Rob, but this was, I really enjoyed this. I really like how we completely got off the path somehow.
Yeah, I'm really glad we planned this beforehand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, this was really good. So thank you once again for joining us here on the podcast. And if you want to check out what Rob is up to, you can go to his site, which is gainhigherground.com, all one word, gainhigherground.com, where you can find his latest blog posts, and you can subscribe to his newsletter and see what that's all about. Now, if you're looking at this on imimpact.com, I'll put the links to all of the stuff we mentioned, as well as, you know, Rob's site will probably be the first link below this audio, so you can find everything there. And I think that's all that we got. So thank you very much for joining us once again, Rob.
It's an absolute pleasure. It's always a pleasure. Thanks for having me.
All right. So have a good one, guys. I'll talk to you later.